about a lesson that I have created based on the book Bad Kitty by Nick Bruhl. This was a week-long unit of lessons, and the main idea is that the students learned how to use context clues and pictures to better understand a story. The instruction was 4 days long, and the 5th day was a review and a short quiz. During the lesson, I formatively assessed students by having them do short activities either independently or in groups to make sure they were following the lesson. I used many different types of media, such as a podcast that reviewed verbs and introduced past tense verbs, a voice thread that modeled my prediction of the story based on pictures on the front cover, and Smart Notebook, which was the program I used to do the whole class and individual activities with the students. I used direct instruction and the discussion model, and at some points cooperative learning. My assessment, as mentioned before, was a short quiz at the end of the unit in which I asked students 5 multiple choice and short answer questions. I expected the students to get a 5 out of 5 on the quiz. 80% of my students did meet the objective, but 4 or 20% of the class did not. All 4 of these students had a difficult time with the question about past tense verbs. This lets me know that in my next grammar lesson, I will need to review these and check with those 4 students to make sure they are understanding past tense verbs before we go on to irregular past tense verbs. I used Google Documents to manage my data for this lesson and class grades. This is a tool that I use in order to find out which students may need more help with certain concepts. A quick overview of the week's lesson is on day 1, I talked to the students about prediction, and I played my voice thread for them. In my voice thread, I modeled how I predicted what was going to happen in the story based on the picture on the front cover. I then asked students to leave a comment predicting what might happen if the author were to continue writing the book or write a sequel. On day 2, we talked about past tense verbs, in which I asked the students to listen to a podcast that reviewed verbs and introduced past tense verbs. On day 3, the students and I made a T-chart as a class and discussed how characters might affect a problem and solution in the story. We used inferences based on pictures. On day 4, we talked about new ways to figure out unknown words like using pictures and context clues in the story. The students really enjoyed this book and knew it very well by the 4th day because we did read the book each day before the lesson began. I thought this was an effective lesson because it hit smaller points such as verbs and new vocabulary, but it also really hit the main idea, which was in each topic we learned how we can better understand a story by using different types of clues. Thank you for watching my video.